if there was going to be a movie about the Knicks post Phil Jackson, first of all, it would be a movie that you would see in a DVD bin at your local 7-Eleven or somewhere shuffled in your local supermarket. And it would be entitled Phil Jackson, The Gift That Keeps on Giving. Because Exhibit A, B, and C, which has presented itself this week, right before the All-Star break, and will continue to have lingering questions, is that of Joakim Noah. Joakim Noah, who you would remember fondly back in the day, that grit, force, heart, and soul player for the Chicago Bulls, and even before that, for the University of Florida. He came out with that great class, if you remember, Florida winning those national championships. And then it was Noah, it was Al Horford. I think there were upwards of 5 University of Florida players picked in the first round. The same draft, 2007, I want to say. It was the year that Wilson Chandler was drafted by the Knicks. It was the Greg Oden, Kevin Durant draft. And for the duration, really the majority of Joakim Noah's tenure with the Chicago Bulls, known as just that heart, hustle, grit type of player, most notably that playoff series he had against the Nets, where despite the fact that the Bulls were decimated by injuries, including Noah playing with a screw in his foot, he almost single-handedly won them that series. And you just got to know Joakim Noah as the kind of player that you want on your team, right? That modern-day Charles Oakley-esque kind of player that leaves nothing on the floor, that will dive for loose balls no matter how badly they're banged up, how badly they're bruised. And he could score a little bit on the inside. He can give you some rebounding. But that heart that he brings to a team, he brings to a locker room, is irreplaceable. So it makes sense that the Knicks went after him last offseason. That this will be a guy that could be a leader in this clubhouse on a team that needed a leader, on a team that, needed that one guy that could grab everyone and just tell them, look, you're not doing your job. On defense, I need you to do this. Someone who could, maybe not get in the face of Carmelo Anthony at the time, but could stand on his own feet and tell Melo, hey, look, Melo, I need you to step it up on defense. I need you to give me a little bit more of an effort on the defensive end. And you would have been well-founded if you thought that Joakim Noah is a good fit on the Knicks team. All that's well, all good. Here's the problem. Nobody else is going after him. And when nobody's going after a player, that means the market for that player is cold. When you're a team interested in a player that no other teams are going after or going after with any significant offers, any aggressive offers, you can then play that to your advantage and make an offer that might be a little bit on the lower end. Make an offer that might be less in years, less in money. But the years being the most important thing. For a player that, has a lot of mileage on him, a player that has endured a lot of nicks during the course of his career, I don't think anybody would have thought that the Knicks were lowballing him if they decided to offer him a 2-year deal. Maybe even with a player option for the second year. Under no circumstances, in no imagination land, in no dream fantasy scenario, could you have ever imagined that the Knicks, or anyone for that matter, was going to offer Joakim Noah a 4-year, $72 million contract? And that's exactly what the Knicks did. And now it's going to end ugly for both the Knicks and for Joakim Noah. Reports have it that Noah and Jeff Hornacek got into an altercation, got into a shouting match, which reportedly turned physical. There are mixed reports as far as who made the first physical movement or physical touch. I was reading the Post earlier today and, citing a source that said that Jeff Hornacek laid his hand on Noah first. And, look, we weren't there. They're going to be mixed reports. The point is, clearly, there was a heated conversation that almost really got physical. That kind of thing happens on teams where you have a disgruntled veteran. And especially when you have a team that's clearly not going the direction of contending, at least right away. If you have a veteran on that team, unless they see that team as their long-term stop, they really want to be invested in helping that team turn things around and go places, then you're going to generally end up with a disgruntled veteran. The guy who, is looking at other situations and thinking to himself, for what it is that I can do, I could be a better help elsewhere. But, Joakim Noah's tenure with the Knicks has not been pretty. Came in last year, gave you absolutely nothing, had the injuries, and then had the drug bust / suspension. So, right off the bat, you're saying to yourself, all right, look, you signed a veteran player to a fairly bloated contract, which you probably didn't have to offer him. But, hey, look, it's Joakim Noah. If he gives you something, if you can provide some leadership, it's a positive for the Knicks. That didn't happen. Or at least you usually hear about it when a player provides leadership in the locker room, right? I don't subscribe to the whole theory of, fans being experts when it comes to a player and his leadership capabilities. A sports talk radio host or a team insider will talk about a player that a team should trade for or should look into in free agency because they bring the intangibles. They bring leadership qualities that this team so sorely needs. That's them talking. They have a lot to stand on. If they're a team reporter, chances are they've been in the locker room off that team. They've talked to players. They hear things. When fans talk about it, it's hearsay, right? I mean, you're going off, what somebody else told you, what you heard from somebody else. We don't really know. We don't know, again, what makes Chris Paul Chris Paul. The only thing we do know is that people talk about Chris Paul in that manner. You hear it clearly from players that, Chris Paul is a true leader, right? He comes in and he commands immediate respect. You used to hear the same thing about Chauncey Billups, even when he was on the Knicks. You used to always hear that when Chauncey Billups said, all right, guys, it's time to practice, everybody's ready to practice. I mean, there are stories about, Chauncey Billups used to take, when he was with the Detroit Pistons, the championship Pistons team. And, they used to go out, what if they were on the road, they would go to a club, they'd go to a party or whatever. But when Chauncey Billups snapped his fingers and said, all right, guys, time to roll out, that whole team, whatever they were doing, whatever they were drinking, whoever they were talking to, they dropped that and they were like, all right, yes, sir, yes, sir. Because Chauncey Billups had those leadership qualities. But again, that's not me, assuming that or saying to you, hey, by the way, guess I heard this from someone. No, I didn't. But enough players have openly talked about Chauncey Billups' leadership qualities that makes you think, all right, that guy was a true leader. I haven't necessarily heard or read anything that suggests that Joakim Noah has been that presence in the Knicks locker room. And I would imagine that when the Knicks did sign him, they thought they were getting a player who did exhibit those qualities or would exhibit, that level of leadership. And I don't know if that's been the case, but nonetheless, it's an ugly situation, and it just speaks to another poor decision, ill-advised decision, in the words of Walt Clyde, made by Phil Jackson. Because this decision to sign Joakim Noah to a 4-year deal for $72 million really hamstrings this team in terms of what it is that they can do now. Because, you think about the free agent class of 2019, which is a very coveted free agents class. Now, you could say that Klay Thompson reportedly does not want to come to the Knicks. All right, fine. That's option on the table. But, when you look at a player like Kyrie Irving, hometown boy, if there's ever a chance that the Knicks do get him, you figure it's going to be next summer. And, the Knicks are kind of in a tough place right now because they need to try to clean as much space off their books as possible. Because, again, if you're building a core that you're investing 2-3 years into, when you hit a big free agency summer, like the one next summer, you need to be able to sell a sellable product to a free agent, especially a top flight free agent. Someone like a Kyrie Irving, who's going to be entering into, the thick of his prime years, when he selects his next destination, he's not going to just think, all right, where can I get the most money? And it's Kyrie Irving. I'm sure financially he's going to be fine. He's going to be thinking to himself, where can I win? And am I confident that, Kristaps Porzingis is coming back from this ACL injury, totally healed, totally ready to go, and totally ready to do what it is that I say he should do as a veteran player? He's going to be looking at Frank Ntilikina and thinking to himself, all right, good. This guy can play some defense. Can he do anything else? Can he help accentuate what it is that I would add to this team? But that's obviously a conversation for another time. But the point is, the fact that you have Joakim Noah and his $18 million per puts you in a tighter position. Puts you in a position where people talk about Tim Hardaway's contract and how it's a bloated contract. Be that as it may, Tim Hardaway is what this league is all about right now. Fast, can score, athletic, can get up and down the floor, and like he just showed you the other night, he can fill it up in a hurry, scoring those 32 first half points before the Knicks absolutely folded like a tent against Washington. But he's going to be a serviceable player, and you look at him as part of your core going forward. You don't mind spending a big number on him. But with Joakim Noah, that's going to be dead money going forward. Look, you could say to yourself, under the most optimistic conditions, that if you give Joakim Noah a fair shot, that maybe he's got something left in the tank, maybe they can increase his value. And look, in the ideal circumstance, yes, the Knicks would play him throughout the course of the last 23 games of the season, see what it can give you. See if there's any chance you can raise his trade value. See if there is a team like Minnesota, who reportedly has expressed interest that if the Knicks were to buy him out, they might be interested. And keep in mind, he would get to go back to Tom Thibodeau, defensive-minded coach. He'd get to play again with Jimmy Butler. So it makes all the sense in the world. But again, I'm looking at it from a more pessimistic perspective. I don't know if Joakim Noah has any top flight, fuel left in him, because I just look at his game, and look, I respect his game. I respect his career. I respect everything that he has given to this game. But if you're going to play the kind of game that is going to leave you open to injuries later in your career, then I don't really know how much more coming back there is from that. It's one thing to suggest that his style of play might not be conducive to what the Knicks are trying to do, or really what the modern NBA is about, which is a lot more fast-paced, a lot more run and gun. Look, if you have that bruiser, if you have that guy who could slam the boards, if you have that guy who, provides an athletic physical presence on the defensive end near the basket, then absolutely you still need that. But I just don't know if Joakim Noah gives that to you anymore. And because of that, it is just another bad decision that leaves by Phil Jackson, that leaves the Knicks in a precarious position now. As again, it's one thing that you're trying to develop young players. You don't need this drama. You don't need this drama hanging over your heads when you're trying to figure out, if you have, your backcourt of the future in the form of Emmanuel Mudiay, Frank Ntilikina, and what it is that you have in Trey Burke. You don't need this drama. And unfortunately, there is no end in sight, because if the Knicks buy him out, guess what? Joakim Noah is not taking any less money. He signed a $72 million contract. What do you think? He's going to say, yeah, sure. Probably not going to get another big payday in the NBA. So, yeah, sure, Knicks, take some money out of my pocket. Yeah, no, it's not happening. The ideal scenario would be that they play him, but I don't see that happening, because Jeff Hornacek made it pretty clear that, it seems as if the Knicks have moved on. Joakim Noah has moved on. He even said that maybe he'll have success somewhere else. So I don't know if that means they're going to buy him out, if they're going to use the stretch provision. But the stretch provision, in my opinion, will be the worst thing that the Knicks could do, because now you're leaving money on the books past the length of his contract. So let's see how it unfolds. Again, it's just going to be another bullet that the Knicks are going to have to bite. Another mess that they're going to have to clean up caused by Phil Jackson. But, again, you have faith so far in what you've seen out of Scott Perry. So let's see what, the Knicks can do now in terms of resolving this situation and moving forward. This is Knick FM. Website is coming soon, and once it is live, we'll put out word. So if anybody wants to contribute via articles, radio content, video, what have you, it's all going to be welcome. We're going to provide a great place for Knicks fans, casual, more advanced, whatever your liking is, to come and have some good, smart Knicks conversations. KnickFM.com.